Alchemist Astrologer, and this is your May forecast for Leo Sun, Leo Rising, and Leo Moon. You are represented by the Nine of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups. So we have several scenarios here. You may be very satisfied with some kind of business or social or romantic opportunity that has crossed your path. There may even be some financial gain for you. Maybe you're satisfied with that. You've gotten exactly what you hoped for from a situation. You may be seeking satisfaction through a mistress or an affair. Some of you, you're emotionally closed off. You're satisfied with being single, and you're very self-contained, self-sufficient. You don't need anybody else. You're good with your own company. You're pursuing your own interests. For others of you, perhaps there's a wish to retire, to withdraw, to pursue your interests, your hobbies. Maybe you want to go on retreat. Some of you, though, perhaps, there's somebody that you're seeking satisfaction from, and maybe they're closed off. This would be like somebody that you greatly admire for whatever, their looks, their intelligence, their culture. They seem to have the total package, and yet, for whatever reason, you can't get next to this person. They're inaccessible, they're unavailable, so you're seeking some satisfaction. But the Nine of Cups says, you have abundance. And so you also have abundant possibilities ahead of you. And so whatever you're seeking, whatever you want, whatever you hope for, this is the moment to go after it, to ask for it, because you're likely to get it. But that's why it's also important to know exactly what it is that you want and why you want it, because you may very well get it. And once you get it, it may not be what you had anticipated. It may be less than. For some of you, there may be some delay in getting your satisfaction. You may be seeking to become self-sufficient yourself. Some of you, maybe you're thinking about becoming self-employed. But this is also about perhaps looking at where you're seeking entertainment and where that may be costing you. You may be pushing the envelope. Perhaps you or your partner, again, is playing the field. Maybe, you're having an affair. Maybe you're a player. For some of you, perhaps something to do with being in a bar or where they serve drinks. Could be a coffee bar, alcohol bar. Could be important. Maybe you met this person there, or you're meeting someone at a bar. It's also about courtesy. And for some of you, there's something going on where there could be some unkind accusations being tossed about, some rumor, some gossip. Maybe you're accusing your partner of something, or vice versa, or you're hearing some things that are giving you some pause. And maybe you want to retaliate for what's going on, but that likely won't come to a good end. So this is about, again, seeking some form of satisfaction, whether that is to be single, to be comfortable, to go after somebody who thus far has been unavailable to you. But getting your wish and seeking satisfaction is very important right now. But there's a change. Maybe, you're at the end of the road, or maybe some changes are going to occur because you're making, maybe you're going to make a trip somewhere, or there's a relationship in the near future. It's on the horizon. So could be some ending. Maybe you're waiting for this relationship, again, seeking satisfaction, or you're at the end of the road. You want to be by yourself, but change is definitely in the air that connects to your future. Whether that's a relationship, whether it indeed has a future, or where you may be going with your partner in the future. Now, your partner's represented by the Temperance card and the Nine of Wands. So for some of you, you may be dealing with a Sagittarius person. But for others of you, again, maybe this is somebody who works in a field that may be connected to temperance. Perhaps this is a bartender or a server of some sort, a healer. But beyond that, this is about extremism. Or your partner may be extreme, or your partner may be trying to moderate some form of extremity. Maybe your partner is very determined to do some healing, or your partner is trying to figure out if they are compatible with you. And with the Nine of Wands, this person may be struggling. Maybe there's an objective. Maybe they feel like, this relationship has come with a lot of challenges, but they're also still in it. They're still standing there. But they're wondering perhaps how much longer they're going to be able to go the distance. Because maybe you've been through a lot with this person, or maybe this person has been through a lot on their own. They're learning to gain from what has occurred with them. They're gaining experience. They're taking the wisdom of their experiences, and they're learning why they may have played a role or how they contributed to where they are. So they may be willing to compromise, to reconcile, to make peace, to reconcile differences. Or again, they're looking at whether the two of you are compatible. One of you may be extreme, perhaps spending too much, eating too much, talking too much, pushing the envelope. And there's a need to moderate that and restrain rather than, rush out there and do something that you regret. So your partner's doing that, or perhaps you're doing that. Maybe you're trying to rein some impulses in. And maybe one of you is under the spell of the other person. So this is also saying somebody's very determined to have a dialogue. They want to have a conversation. And this is going to be very frank, very honest, very open. Somebody wants to put all of their cards out on the table. No playing around here, because there's some point of contention perhaps that this person wants to work out. And they want the truth to be spoken. They want everything out there so that you can at least agree to disagree. They are interested in finding some common ground. In fact, somebody's trying to resurrect this partnership, bring it back alive, revitalize it. And it may center on some legal issues, or just again seeking some kind of fairness or balance in the relationship. So you have two cards on the partner side where they're seeking some form of balance. Perhaps this is the equitable distribution of some kind of assets. It could be making some important choices. You're at some kind of crossroads here where maybe it's choosing between your professional life, your personal life, putting that in better balance. Or maybe it's domestic responsibilities or parenting or financial issues. Something where the scales need to be righted again, where there's been some extremism and somebody's very determined and maybe they're very tired. They've been through a lot because something isn't balanced. Now the romance is characterized by this Six of Swords and the Hierophant. So this could be some beneficial changes in your commitment to one another. Or somebody is deciding that they want to move on from the marriage. There's a desire to get past negative, toxic, unhealthy, or abusive situations. And you are not out of the woods yet. You're still struggling to work some things out. In fact, you may be going over some old issues. Some of you, this may be trying to balance work and professional life. Maybe you want to take a trip. Maybe this is overseas or somewhere that you've been before. Or maybe you're having to travel for your education, or you're having to travel for some kind of ceremony or official engagement of some sort. But the point is to create some beneficial change between the two of you. And there are issues of whether you are committed, what the intent is. And this is a time where you can make great strides. You can produce the changes that you seek. There's some opportunity there, and you can be very productive with your partner in moving forward on something. However, the Hierophant can also mean that somebody's not doing what is expected. They're not meeting the demand of the other person. Maybe you had an agreement with regard to something, and those scales have somehow come unbalanced. So the Hierophant says that one of you has fallen short in some manner. You've made a promise or a commitment one too many times, and something eventually fell through the cracks. Or somebody is very dogmatic in their beliefs. They are stuck to a particular principle, a set of ideas or concepts and ideology. And maybe it's a little bit rigid. Maybe somebody needs to be more original. Maybe they need to open up to new perspective, new ideas, to make some beneficial changes. There's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of contemplation. Maybe you're trying to come up with ideas, you're trying to work something out with your partner, or maybe you have a lot going on in your head. Maybe these are foolish ideas sometimes, or maybe you feel like your partner's not taking you seriously. And it could be that you're dealing with situations where somebody's emotionally closed off. They've put their heart under lock and key. That's either you or your partner. Or again, maybe this is somebody that you're interested in, and yet this person is inaccessible to you. But what is the problem? You have this King of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. So perhaps you're experiencing a bit of bad luck for some kind of undertaking, something that you want to establish. You want to establish something that would provide you some financial and emotional security, some stability. And with the King of Pentacles here, maybe, you want to settle down, or maybe you don't. Somebody wants to settle down, and somebody's being very selective about who they get involved with. Very critical, very discerning, maybe overly so. Could be a standard that's just a bit too high to uphold, or again, somebody's inaccessible or unavailable. But also there's some control issues. Somebody's being too critical, too controlling, too judgmental. And if there are financial issues, somebody perhaps may not be fair. They want to control things. They want to keep the money. They want to control how the relationship plays out. It's going to be on their terms. In fact, they may even resent spending money on the partner. And with the Wheel of Fortune, it says that, maybe there's a bit of bad luck, or something that didn't turn out the way that you had hoped, or you're expecting some money. It may be tied to investments or real estate or business. And you're having to deal with something. Somebody took a gamble, a risk that perhaps didn't pay off the way that they had hoped. Or maybe you're missing your luck. It could be that there's some luck running through a situation, and because it's small, you're discounting that. And if something didn't work out the way you wanted it to, perhaps luck is on your side. It may be a blessing in disguise. But perhaps, there's some change due to recognition. Maybe the change in appearance, or somebody is caught up in pampering themselves or spending a lot of money, or again, extravagance could be an issue. And it may be all about the looks. Maybe somebody's being too critical about looks, and so it ends up that the relationship cools off. So there's a need to recognize a partner for their inner beauty, what they have to offer from the inside. And yet somebody feels abandoned maybe. There could be some sexual issues, a lack of libido, drive, impotency, or maybe, this is a relationship where when things don't go well, somebody's closed off. They punish the other person by being very detached, very cold, very aloof. So somebody feels rejected or left out in the cold. And maybe, maybe you've decided you're going to just put your feelings on ice temporarily. You're going to put things on hold. Now, what is the underlying influence that's driving all of this? You have this Knight of Pentacles. So it could be about income, could be somebody's too slow in doing something. They're not very original in their approach, or they're, stuck to the same old thing, or maybe there's a focus just on the money, the material. This bodes well for some unexpected income, but there are also issues here connected to loyalty, devotion, and perhaps there's a secret love affair taking place. You're looking at your value system right now, or your partner is, or the value of this relationship. Where are you putting your time, your energy, your money, your emotions? Is it enough? Are you being too tight? What is it costing you? What's the bottom line for this relationship? And you're trying to remain emotionally balanced about that. And maybe you're having to balance a lot of things, a lot of obligations, a lot of feelings, a lot of situations, maybe more than one partner. But there's some kind of release, some kind of change or transformation. You may be letting something go. And so perhaps, again, you're looking at what something has cost you. Now, your advice is, my body is a lush garden. I am the gatekeeper. So for some of you, there are issues maybe of health, protecting your health, recognizing that your body is a vessel that needs to be cared for. In other situations, perhaps this is recognizing that you can't just give the goods away to anybody, that you are a sacred entity, a being, and that if the relationship meets your approval, then and only then should you open those gates. Now, the outcome is Page of Wands and Seven of Wands. So somebody is motivated, perhaps enthusiastic, to try to gain some type of advantage. There could be some news. There's definitely a change in the plan where, again, somebody may be standing up for themselves. Maybe they're protecting themselves. They feel like they have to defend their reputation or stand up for who they are. And that's fine, again, if you're moving past a toxic situation where that's negative, where the scales have not been balanced and you're trying to heal, whether that's physically or emotionally, financially, whatever capacity. But in other cases, it could be that one of you is just too unyielding. You're too critical, too discerning, too judgmental. And that inability to adapt, to be flexible, is creating some unhappiness. Now, this is a situation where perhaps some small changes make a big difference for you. You have something just by tweaking how you relate or your actions that changes your social attitude and your emotional availability. So for some of you, perhaps you're going to do something. Maybe you're going to take a short trip. You're going to, again, visit somewhere perhaps that you've been before or somewhere overseas. Or maybe you're going to go to a small gathering. You're going to connect with others. It could be where they serve food or drinks. And your social skills become the center of attention, your power of attraction. And maybe you thought you were a little rusty, but maybe you are more attractive than you're giving yourself credit for. But in other cases, you're picking up on some things. You're looking at your relationship and evaluating how it's changed. Some small ways that when you look back, you didn't realize they were occurring. You don't know what that starting point was. You're at a place where you don't know where the change happened. You're scratching your head. And so for some of you, you're trying to create some harmony, some inner peace about your situation. And maybe it has to do with some self-love. It could be you're not really ready for a relationship right now. You need some time to heal, or your partner does. There's a need to practice some self-love, to have some inner dialogue. This perfectionist standard may be blocking your healing. And so you have to learn to accept yourself and all of your flaws. And maybe your partner does too. So this is about healing. Perhaps you haven't been caring for yourself the way you should. The way you look, your health. There's something you may be neglecting. So it's time to practice more self-love, or perhaps it's time for your partner to. Now you have 3 major cards. And so, this is an important time for you. The Temperance card says that you need to not procrastinate, and that you need to practice some kind of restraint, some moderation in your approach. And yet with the Hierophant, this is about coloring within the lines when you should, but knowing when sometimes you got to step out of the box. You got to be more original. Where you're meant to play it safe, absolutely do so. But when you need to perhaps take a risk, do just that. But the Wheel card says have confidence in doing so. Take a gamble. feel good about it, just don't be reckless. It needs to be a calculated gamble. For some of you, this is about the delegation of some kind of responsibility. Again, trying to determine the balance, what's fair, who should be doing what, who should be getting what. There is some issue, though, where you're going to have to be very watchful about your circumstances. You're going to have to take a cautious approach. Perhaps somebody is revolting, or there's some kind of challenge, or you're dealing, again, with an attraction. And there are issues of cooperation, getting with others to determine what's wrong. How can we improve? How can we move forward? And maybe you'll be having some face-to-face communication with somebody. Perhaps that's, a direct dialogue. Maybe it's a conference. Maybe it's a courthouse. Maybe it's a job interview. Maybe you're getting with somebody who can counsel you. Whatever it is, you're getting the opportunity to see where the flaws are so that they can be corrected. You're looking at the imperfections. You're also looking at the strengths. And once you assess that, it may be time for forward movement, to put something out there, especially if you've, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. But for others of you, you may be in a situation where you feel that there's somebody connected to you who is bogging you down with their emotional codependencies, their extremism, their extravagance, their neediness. And that perhaps maybe, something is out of balance and you need to make some changes so that you can get ahead. Or your partner may be feeling like that about you. You'll definitely be having some discussions that center around the future. You may be involved in some form of transaction also that ties to investments or land or business opportunities that would afford you an opportunity to move toward the future. But it means laying the groundwork here and now, doing what is in front of you presently in order to get to the destination that you seek. There is some kind of turmoil at work. There's some outer forces surrounding you, some unexpected changes that are coming to your world due to other people. So for you, this is a month where there's a change in the plans connected to your ambitions. It's going to center on your sense of security, stability. Are you fitting in? Do you feel that there's a foundation? You may want to create something of permanence, something that's solid, that is reliable for yourself, and you may find yourself being very direct and assertive in trying to go after that. Your decisions are going to be driven by that sense of security. And it also centers on your partnerships, your attachments to others, and how you are dealing with those that you're having relationships with, and how you are allowing yourself to be dealt with, whether it is constructive, beneficial, or toxic and abusive. And you're dealing with things that tie to your future, your destiny, opportunities that have the potential to change your life in some way, the people that also influence your future. All right, Leo, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit that notify bell. Let's make some positive change in your relationship. Let's create a love revolution.